We live in a time when the action film seems to be getting more and more popular once again. We've had the John Wick series. We've had the Bricklayer that came out recently. And now we have the Beekeeper. And all these films have in common is the lone protagonist going around absolutely destroying all and sundry who get in his way. And these are, for the most part, really good films and really, really entertaining. Who doesn't like the good guy with the strong moral code and sense of honour who's going around righting injustices of the world? These are joys that to watch, and I think most men and women as well, but most men it's the kind of thing they can get behind. You know, the person who has to take the justice and law into his own hands when law and justice has failed. And this film would be The Beekeeper, starring Jason Statham. And it's not going to win any Oscars. It's not going to win any great plaudits. But if you want a short, simple story, almost paint by numbers, yes. You know, bad thing happens. He takes revenge. He goes on a rampage. You know, bang, bang, bang. It's very simple. It's a very simplistic formula. But it works. It's worked all this time for possibly the whole of, you know, filmmaking. And it still continues today. So, he's just living as a tenant in a garage with this little old lady, minding his own business, just keeping himself out of the world. And he has bees and he makes money to give and sell and whatnot. And sadly for this nice old lady, she is scammed out of a load of money. And obviously once she finds out what has happened, she sadly takes her own life. And this Adam does not like. Firstly, he's arrested for her murder, but on, you know, simple investigation, they see, because he was in the house when the old bill arrived, the FBI, sorry. So he's at first arrested, and when he's told what happened and the circumstances, he decides to take things into his own hands, because he, as well as being a literal beekeeper, he was part of a secret organisation called the Beekeepers, whose function was to possibly stop the United States from going under. They were empowered to use whatever means and force to prevent a total collapse. Think SHD from The Division, if you wish, if you've ever played them games. You're sent in just before the collapse or during the collapse to bring back stability. So he gets in touch with them. They are able to find these because the FBI couldn't. And we just get some glorious, glorious scenes where he just takes it into his own hands. We get, if you like your violence, you're going to really, really like this. The violence isn't gratuitous by any means. It's not there for the sake of it. It all serves the purpose. It's very much like John Wick, where he does a thing, beats the bad guys, goes to the next guy. You know, like the computer levels. He has his lower level boss, he's your mid boss, and your higher boss. It's very much that outlook, and it's really good. It's really good compared to some of the shit we get now. You know, when you've had your Echoes and your Marvel shows and your DC films that they're all pretty much the same. At least with this one, he knows what right and wrong is. He's fully aware of what he's doing. It's not like Echo where she's the protagonist but she's a murderer and she's murdered people for murderers. And she doesn't suffer any consequences for it. She's a hero because most of current Hollywood cannot write anymore. But we do have this glimmer of hope with this. So, he goes to get the bad guys. If you want to think of it as a potential bad guy doing bad to worse guys, I suppose you could look at it that way. But he truly believes he is acting. He's acting for the benefit of the hive. Is how everything looks. He's trying to right or wrong for the benefit of the hive, which would be society. He has a strong moral compass when it comes to targeting children and the elderly. So, and which I think every one of us does anywhere by default. So, he goes down, he burns this building down, he gives people, I will tell you now, he gives them the option. Fuck off, you know, your low level, your very low levels, your scams, your tech experts, your computer fucking nerds. Fuck off, or you go up with the building. He gives them the choice. And to emphasise his point, he beats some dude with a phone because he tries to argue with him. And a lot of the people in here, that these tech, because they're all tech analysts, they're all your Gen Z fucking coffee, soy drinking wankers who have, you know, your fucking out of their coffees that no cunt's ever heard of. You know what I mean? It's nice to see that it's a traditional man beating the shit out of possibly one of the reasons why Western society is as shit as it is. Other than politicians, of course. So it is glorious to see that. And you see that they're all... You see where they work. They have... It is like when you've seen the videos from people who work for Amazon or Facebook. You know, these stupid companies or whatever where it's not work. It's like going to a crash. You know, so they'll have a coffee shop, a games room, a fucking massage room, and this. And he just goes round and he smashes it all up. And, you know, those that stand in his way, he does kill. With maximum fucking efficiency. Maximum effort. It's like Home Alone on steroids at some point with some of the stuff he uses. You know, he's hanging people up and using lists to chop them in half. It's brilliant. Said it's not gratuitous, but, you know, and it's not because it's not done, it's not violence for violence sake, it's violence against people who would harm him. And that's how I do it, that's how I say it and think of it. So he works his way up the ladder, starting from low level boss, who he gets as much information from as he can and then dispatches him, and it goes higher and higher. And we get to the point where it turns out it's the he's a big bad because he's the bad person, but he's not your traditional bad guy because he's some 26-year-old skinny fucking idiot. You know what I mean? He's not your traditional baddie. But he does get the same treatment as traditional baddies. So anyway, the beekeeper works his way through numerous bad guys. He is then faced with the current beekeeper, and I didn't like this bit because it was a bit too over the top. You had a thing that seemed quite grounded at one point, and then they have Miss fucking Boss Bitch come along, and granted she can't compete with him because no matter how well trained she is, Jason Statham's character and Jason Statham himself, he's still fucking twice the size. So he easily dispatches her, which is another nice thing that we get. Because in current Hollywood writing, men do not beat women in fights. Granted, he does not beat her up. He sets fire to her, so, you know, and chops her finger off. But he needs that to gain access. But the thing I didn't like was she had this fucking minigun on the back of her truck. Maybe you can just drive around America like that. I don't know. But that took you out of it a little bit. It took me out of the thing. But anyway, it's soon over with. So she's like the mid-level boss. We then get more backstory into the beekeepers through Jeremy Irons' character, who's the stepfather, I think he is. It's not really... You know, he's the head of the company, you know, to protect the president's reputation, but I'm not really sure if he's the stepfather or not. But anyway, he hires a load of tier 1 operators, and he makes it clear in no uncertain terms that them compared to him are nothing. They are pussies. You know, he is top of the top. He didn't even know existed. So, but he does tell them there's significantly more of you than him. So maybe you could just get the drop on him. Spoilers, they don't. They don't nowhere near get the drop on him. And the interesting thing in that is the FBI tried to go in to protect this building. And they're promptly told to do one. So, you know, and we get Jason Statham's character just walk up to him, you know, like, you know, they're just trying to work out a plan, and he's like, no, if I, you know, no. And he's like, if I could have gone round the back, I'd have gone round the back. But unfortunately, I've got to come through the front. And when they clock who he is, they have a brief fight. And I will say, a lot of this is unarmed combat. I don't know if Jason Statham's just not super duper confident with guns, or this was just what they were going for. He does use a gun, a pistol, but as a general rule, he doesn't. It's all unarmed combat or using the environment, which is actually quite nice. You know, he is martial arts trained, so he would be able to pull off these performances. And he goes through the FBI guys. He doesn't kill any of them. You know, he shoots a load of them, but they're all in the body armor. So it's just, you know, not the wind at the sails. But anyway, he goes through, you know, these tier 1 operators, and, you know, bish bosh bosh, done. So now we get to the end, and it's the kid. He's 26-year-old, but he's a bratty little kid. He's never been fucking told no in his life ever. Let's be honest. And when you see the interactions with his mother, you know, it's a surprise he didn't turn into a serial killer, really. But anyway, the kid goes to stay with his mum because she has the Secret Service. Adam's character manages to infiltrate it, where they are staying through stealth and sneaky beaky stuff. And it all climaxes to, we have the upper level boss, where he's fighting a South African who killed a beekeeper, but it cost him his leg. So he's got a tin leg, and we get quite a nice, good fight scene between the pair of them. And I'm going to say it, because to compare, the film with Echo. In Echo, the tin leg does not ever at any point hinder her. In fact, she seems to gain super duper powers out of it through being able to jump and kick things at incredibly long distances. In this, Adam sees that he has a tin leg, promptly puts in a kick below the knee to try and dislodge it, and then wins the fight. By that, I mean he kills him. So you can see here the differences where, you know, the disability worked against him, and our good guy used it for his advantage. The president at this point is freaking out because she's learnt that her son had been using CIA technology to misuse it to scam a load of people to fund her presidential campaign. So while she herself is innocent up to a point, she knows the writing's on the wall, and she wants to tell the beekeeper, look, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to the press. Because she now knows what's coming. At every stage, Jeremy Irons said, if you watch John Wick, where Vigo's dad says to his kid, John Wick's coming for you. There's nothing you can do because you can't do nothing. This is exactly the same. It's Jeremy Irons tells him right at the beginning, you pissed off a beekeeper. Nothing on this earth can protect you now. You know, so we get that. It's that kind of, you know, film, like I said. You know, so we get to the dumb little shit. He's been spoken to by the deputy director of the FBI. He then kills him. Just as our beekeeper comes into the room, he pulls up the gun as though to aim for him, and beekeeper drops him one in the head. Bang, done. Now that's the film over. He makes his escape. Before this happens, he does say to the FBI woman, Do you believe in justice or do you believe in the law? And I guess she believes in justice because she lets him take the shot, and she has a shot herself to stop him afterwards and doesn't take it. So that's the film. It's he escapes through having scuba gear in the sand, and off he goes into the sunset, presumably for Beekeeper 2 if they can think of a decent script. So that's the film. It comes in at 105 minutes, so just over an hour and a half, and it does what it does. It's very short, very sweet, and very satisfying. Like I said, the action is on point. There's no one missing the marks, or it doesn't look like Echo does, which, let's be honest, had an infinitely bigger budget than this film did. Even though if this film was produced by Amazon MGM, it's not going to win any awards, but it will give you what you need. If you just need a quick film, bit of violence, bit of moral sense of right and wrong, because we are sorely lacking in that. Like I said at the beginning of the film, at the review, perhaps we are sorely lacking from Hollywood about what is right and what is wrong. There's far too many of our Disney stuff and Marvel stuff are bad people who do not face any consequences, who do not need any redemptive arcs, who do not grow in any way. They start off bad, get told they're awesome, still bad, and even worse is the current crop for, especially when it's the female-led movies. The earliest female-led stuff might have been good, where it was, the retired assassin who's forced to come out. Now, they're generally bad people who are bad, and that's it. But we're expected to pretend that they're good. But anyway, that's my review of the film. It's worth it. It's worth your time. If it's under the pictures near you, great. If you're in the UK, I think you're going to have to wait till it comes on Sky, which is weird because Amazon made it. So you'd have thought it'd be on Amazon, but no, it's supposed to, according to Wikipedia, it'll be on Sky. Anyway, that's it for me. Bye-bye.